All stories shared on this podcast are based on true events, but names and details have been altered to protect the privacy of those involved. This content is for entertainment and educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.
Welcome to Closing Time with the Lone Rangers. I am your co-host, John Washburn, the Dean of Mortgages, coming at you live today from the Cross Country Mortgage Super Complex downtown Cleveland with one of the coolest guys I've ever met in mortgages. Before we get to him, Andrew, my co-host, go ahead and introduce yourself again.
I'm Andrew Rysta. I close loans and I close a bunch of hard loans. So this is a very good podcast for me because I get to hear about people closing difficult loans that I will inevitably run into on my journey. So yeah.
Well, I'm so excited. So Andrew, when we first got the idea to start a podcast, the guy that I'm sitting next to was one of the very first people on my mind that
he was your first guest.
We have got to get Garrett Silva on the line. So Garrett Silva, thank you so much for coming on Closing Time with the Lone Rangers. Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do, what you're doing downtown in this amazing building.
Yeah, no, appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here. Like you said, I'm Garrett. I'm your mortgage doctor, and I'm here with the Crown Group at the downtown corporate office at Cross Country Mortgage. I've been in the business for going on 15 years now. Started kind of like everyone, in the grounds phase as a grunt, doing in the call center. Got licensed as an LO, did some training, did some managing, and then, became a branch manager in 2018. Have been running a team ever since. Been with Cross Country for about 3 years now. Love it. Wish I would have came 10 years sooner, to be honest with you. It's a great place to be. I've got 4 beautiful kiddos, one in college and then one in just hit middle school to an upper elementary school. That's kind of why I do what I do and who I am.
Oh man, amazing.
So I have a quick question for him.
Andrew.
Yeah. I wrote this one out. And Garrett, when did you realize, how long did it take you before you realized like this is the industry for me? I feel like a lot of us, have that moment of like, okay, I'm actually going to make it in this, When was that?
So that's a great question. And it kind of came to me in a couple folds. So my very first day on the job, I came in, the office was nice. At least I thought it was, for my standards, nice cars in the parking lot, people dressed nice. And my first or maybe my second day, they had an awards thing, and they handed the top producer one of the big checks for $25,000.
Oh,
and
nice.
I was like, oh my gosh, I better not mess this up. So I didn't, right?
Yeah.
And then, fast forward to where I first got my NMLS number. My NMLS number is 900500. 900, 500.
Wow,
If
nice.
that's not meant to be, what do you mean, right?
That's awesome.
And then I think when kind of like everybody, when you first get that first 5-figure check and you're like, wow, this changed my life. I think my first check that I ever got that was like my life changer after taxes was $2,900. It was probably like 4 times the biggest check I've ever had in my life, right?
That's awesome.
So, I mean,
yeah.
Even that was it. But yeah, to answer your question, kind of long-winded, that's kind of how I knew.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've known Garrett Silva since like the second week that I've been working in mortgages. I started out at a place called Nations Lending where Garrett was.
In here.
And after I passed my test, they sent us into another class, which, the first class is here's how to pass your SAFE test. And then the second class is here's how to actually sell loans. Here's how loans actually work, all of that stuff. And Garrett was our teacher in that class. And so we had Garrett for 3-4 hours every day. And the way, I came from a teaching background. I had been a school teacher for 7 years. And the way that he made all of this complex information so easily digestible for us was like, I really appreciated it. I could tell he was an awesome teacher. And then I would listen to him talk to borrowers on the phone, and he brought sort of that same really positive way of explaining through issues to them that he did to us, teaching us how to do loans. And also I love Garrett's always had like these little phrases, these these little statements that he would say, like, as he's teaching us the product, right? Everyone was Mr. Jones, or he was famous for saying, don't forget about that. Keep your left eye on that. And these are different things that I've actually taken with me into the industry as I've trained other people. Like, this is an important thing. Here's something that's you got to remember. Keep your left eye on it, right? But we got to do these important things first.
Yeah.
So
And those little isms kind of help you remember.
they do. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, so Garrett, tell us a little bit about what you do. What does your team do here at Cross Country now?
So our team is pretty purchase focused. What's funny is historically I've been a big refi guy.
Yeah.
Obviously, not a lot of refis, in 2022 and on. So we had to kind of pivot, which was painful but really healthy. Probably the best thing that ever happened to us. So now I have, my oldest business partner is Frank. I mean, he's not the oldest person. He might be the oldest person, but he's been with us the longest, or been with me the longest. And then we also partnered up, with two guys, Nick and Alan. So the four of us run our main branch. And then we've also got sub branches that work under us that we help, help them with the big problems that they can't handle. We help process their loans, get them to the finish line. All those guys are branch managers themselves, and they have teams themselves.
Cool.
But for like the PhD issues, they come to the doctor, right?
That's awesome.
Garrett has always been the mortgage doctor. So I passed my tests, went through the little call center phase, and then you're out on the main floor, right? And Garrett was the guy. It was Garrett and this other guy named Brandon Feichel that I hope to also have on the podcast one day too.
Yeah.
Whenever I would get off the phone with a borrower that just had a crazy scenario, right? I'd always ask the person beside me, hey, can we do this? And they'd usually be like, no. But I would like remember, because Andrew, we'd read the guidelines all the time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like this maybe can be done. And before I took no for an answer, I get up, and I'm sure I annoyed Garrett so much every time he saw me bounding down the hallway to go talk to him. I get up, I was like, I got to run this by the mortgage doctor, Garrett Silva, first, because if this can be done, Garrett will know how to do it. And there were so many times where I thought a deal was dead. I thought we couldn't do something. And I go talk to Garrett, and he's like, no, you just do this, right?
Yeah.
Run it as refer loan. Run it as this. Run it as that. And, learning from him, I think in our industry, we learn the most by doing.
Sure.
Right? You can read guidelines, but when you actually see that guideline come into play on loans, that's when you know it. But you passing that knowledge on to me, something I've always even wanted to tell you, you were teaching another team, you were running another team, and I was over there on the purchase floor.
Yeah.
But you always took time to help me out. You took time away from your team and away from your stuff to help me out. And it's just something I've always appreciated. That's why I want to get you on the show today.
100%, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It really does feel too like a tool in your tool belt when you're like, I know that this person can get me an answer on this. Because I mean, on our side, John, even when you're growing, like in the broker world, you run into account executives who they don't really know. They actually are the flip, where you had people telling you no. They're telling you yes, but they don't know for sure. They just know they'll get the loan in the door, and then if it closes, it closes. They don't care. So once you find people in your sphere, in your community, as like a loan officer, for any of the loan officers that are listening, hold on to those people, because I have like 3 or 4 of them. And those people are like, they literally make you money because they show you how to do things that you wouldn't know how to do. And you're like, part of this makes sense to me and I think we can do it, but let me ask this person. And then they're like, yeah, no problem. And yeah, they're super valuable. So I'm excited for this story, Garrett. It's going to be one of a million. I'm ready.
No, I remember before we get to that story, one of the other things I learned from Garrett is he told me, he's like, the 2 best things you can tell a real estate agent or that you can tell a borrower, the best thing you can tell them is yes, right? Yes, we can do this. But the second best thing you can tell them is no right away, right? The worst thing you can do is drag somebody along, right? And like, yeah, I think we can do it. I think we can do it. We've paid for an inspection. We've paid for an appraiser. We've paid for movers, and then we actually can't do it.
Correct.
And I could have told that person no 40 days ago before this got so painful.
For sure.
So
it's funny, as LOs, we see that from like, oh my gosh, the buyer paid for this, the buyer paid for that, yada yada. Sometimes we forget it's almost worse for the seller, right? That seller's trying to sell their house so they can buy a new one, and then that seller's trying to buy a new one, and the dominoes just start to fall.
Yeah.
And a seller might be juggling 2 mortgage payments, or hey, I had another cash offer, I took this one, it was 10 grand higher, and everyone knows what happens when a house is on the market, then it goes back on the market, then it's off the market back on. It's like, well, what's wrong with that house, right? They lose some of the marketability. So like, we often are like, man, my buyer this, or my whatever that. Sometimes I stop and be like, oh my gosh, I feel terrible for the seller.
Yeah.
This isn't my story, but actually, a quick small one is just last summer, I actually pre-approved somebody, and the seller needed that buyer to buy it. They called me. They were just in tears. They're like, hey, we have this house lined up. It's our favorite house, blah, 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 yada, yada. I ended up giving the seller a personal bridge loan for 40 grand so they could buy this house, and then they paid me back. Like 6 months later after this. I just felt so terrible. But those are the kinds of things that we do to try to make right by people, just try to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, that story right there is another example of one of the reasons why you are one of my most important mentors in this industry. Because as you both know, there's a lot of people in this industry that are really good at what they do, and they sort of get there by not caring about people.
Sure.
Right? And that was never you. But you always had such a kind heart, a compassionate heart, an empathetic heart for people. So like, giving someone a bridge loan out of your own pocket to make it right for them because you made a mistake. There's not a lot of loan officers that would do that.
No.
So I'm glad the world gets to hear Garrett Silva, Garrett Silva today. And Garrett, I think that's a good time to transition to your story. Okay, so the way this podcast works, right? We have people like you on, and we want you to share with us your craziest loan story. But remember, we are in the world of mortgages. We are in the world of, we need to make sure confidentiality is important. So for everyone on the show, what you are about to hear is a true story. It really did happen, but the names, the locations, the times, the dates will have been changed to protect the innocent and the not so innocent. And we sort of have a little gimmick on this show where we try to make everything the wild, wild west, because we feel like loans are sort of the wild, wild west sometimes. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking. Garrett, tell us your story.
So yeah, this is kind of a lighthearted one. I've got a bunch of crazy stories, but this is one that I kind of chuckle at myself about because it was one of my very first loans. I bet this was in probably one of the first 10 loans I did in my career. And, kind of getting right to it. I'm taking the application. This is during my refinance period, right? And I'm talking to the client. I'm talking to his wife. He's like, yeah, here's my wife. She's like, yeah, here's my husband. He's a veteran. So we're looking at VA options. Wanted to get some cash to pay off some debt and, do some home stuff, normal stuff, right? So I take the application. I say, "Yep, I'm talking to Mr. and Mrs. Jones." I know, sorry, it's not wild, but
okay.
I'm a Mr. Jones guy, and I'm Mrs. Jones. She's Mrs. Jones. This is my husband. This is my wife. I'm talking to both of them. They're like passing the phone back and forth. So fast forward, take the application. Loan's going normal. Appraisal actually came in like 20 grand high, which this is like 2012, so that was kind of
nice.
Rare.
Yeah.
However, it was subject to this guy had 2 like huge old red barns. And so the appraiser said that we had to repaint them. We're talking huge barns, right?
So is this like scrape and paint them like an FHA type of issues? Okay.
Exactly.
Got it.
So he's like, hey, it's getting the tail end of winter. It was like a northern state kind of out west. And he's like, Garrett, I can't really get this done, and we ended up going through it. We called handymen. We found one that would do because he didn't have any money. It was all trapped in the attic. That's why he wanted to cash out, right?
Yeah.
So we found one that would do it, and it was like 15 grand worth of stuff. And so he had 2 big barns he had to paint. So the guy said he will do it for 5 grand up front and then 10 grand when he closes, which was really great for us, right?
Yeah.
So dude does it. There were some issues with doing it, but he got it done. And, fast forward, remember, we're doing a VA loan. And as you guys know, in the mortgage world, VA can be kind of old school. And they require, if a borrower and a co-borrower are on a loan together and you want 100% financing, they have to be married.
Of course.
So we get to closing and we ended up having to get some insurance and stuff, whatever. We get to closing. We're final approved, right? It's like, what does clear to close even mean anymore?
Yeah.
And it turns up that my clients aren't married. And I'm like,
No way.
I don't understand. And like, I know I said Mr. and Mrs. Jones, they had a very unique last name. Like they were freaking married.
Right.
So I called the clients. I'm like, what's going on? Like, how are you guys not married? And they're like, well, sorry. I was like, you said husband, you said wife. They're like, so we got married when we were like 22 years old. And then a couple years later, we got divorced. And then a couple years later, we got back together and we've been together ever since. So like in their mind, they've been together 30 years, but they're not legally married.
Oh my word.
So
the tax implications.
Oh,
the tax break.
So we've got this guy who did all this work, who wants his 10 grand for his paint. These people are drowning in debt. That's why they're taking us in the first place. And I'm like, I don't know how to fix this unless you guys go get married. So, like over the weekend, they went and eloped and got married, and they sent me this thing, and they sent me the picture and yada yada. And we talked like every year on their anniversary for. We haven't in like 5 years, but for like 10 years, they would send us a picture. Hey, still happily married, So again, nothing too crazy, but like we were at the finish line. It's like, how have you, what happened here? And like, well, we got married, we got divorced, we still loved each other, got back together. We've been together 30 years, and they ended up getting married to get the loan done.
So what I'm hearing is Garrett Silva, not just mortgage doctor, but love doctor. Love therapy, right? Oh man,
that's amazing.
Okay. All right, so thinking through this, right, from a loan officer perspective, right, and we don't want to throw Mr. and Mrs. Jones under the bus, right? But you send them out that initial 1003, and like you got to put married or unmarried on there. Did they just say that they're married because in their eyes they're like thinking like?
Well, so no, it was my fault again.
Okay.
And that's one thing, guys, as the loan officer, guess what? You're the processor, you're the underwriter, you're the king.
Yeah.
Everything is
just stops with you, right? For sure.
Right. So it was an application I took over the phone, right? And again, they said, hey, I'm Mr. Jones, I'm Mrs. Jones. So I just clicked married. And to Jonathan's point, they did sign the application. Right. They didn't stop me or anything, but in their mind, they're married.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So shame on me. I'll tell you what, from then on, even if I'm talking to Mr. I say, oh, so it's safe to say you're legally married. Right? I've taken that with me my entire career since. I literally verify everyone's marital status. I don't care if they say they're married or not.
Oh man, that's good. So it's safe to say you're legally married. So you double down and make sure, because there's a lot of people like this is my wife, this is my husband, right? And they're just engaged, right? They're just dating. They just been living with each other for a long time.
Correct.
Oftentimes you'll ask people like, what is their marital status? And they'll say like divorced, right? But that's not a status on the 1003.
I know,
right? It's married, unmarried, separated. Those are typically the three options. And so sometimes you got to be like, well, when you say this, are you actually divorced? Are you in the middle of filing a paperwork? There's all sorts of options, clarification, information that you sometimes have to dig down on. All right, so I'm just thinking through this, right? So there's a reason you told every part of that story. So we get to near final approval and you find out they're not married. And so now we've got $10,000 worth of work that is owed to a guy that just painted 2 barns. And we're thinking like, if we don't get this fixed, if we don't get this settled, like not only were they already in debt, now they're in even more debt.
More debt, yeah.
I, as a loan officer, have been driving the ship that has put them into this situation.
Yes.
Oh man. Did that take, when you told them, did that take like a fair amount of convincing on your part? Or
so here's how there's how do I want to say this? The only problem is that we're never going to close, and the only good news is that we're finally going to close. Everything else is just news, right?
Yeah.
There's good news, there's bad news, and then there's just news. The only good news is we're finally done. The only bad news is we're never going to get there. So, when it comes to presenting things like that, whether it's a marriage thing like this, or your cash is different, or your payment changed, hey, here's what happened. Here's why. Here's our resolution to fix it. How do you feel, right? And that's kind of how I go through every problem I run into, not only in this business but in life, right? Here's the situation that we're in. Here's why it's significant. Here's our options out of it. What are your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
I never feel like I've ever sold anyone a thing. I just tell them we've got option 1, option 2. Which one do you like? And now they're buying something. I'm not selling them anything, right?
Yeah.
And these guys, I don't want to say they were buying, they had options. They didn't really have a lot of options. They were like either you go get married or you got to come up with other solutions, because I'm not at that point.
Right. Yeah. So I have a question. So did you talk to the guy that painted the barns? Did he
Absolutely.
like?
Yeah.
So what was that when he calls you and he's like, either he calls you because it's been radio silence, or you called him because you're like trying to stay ahead of it. No matter which way it went, what was that? Tell me about how did that conversation go? What was the?
So kind of like Jonathan said earlier, it's like you just tell them as soon as you know there's an issue. You tell them, right?
Yeah.
So dude paints the stuff. He says, hey, when we close? And I said, hey, we should close within like a week, not even, because we had to send the appraiser back out there and all the fun stuff. And then got the appraisal back, goes in for final approval. It flags. And I'm like, hey man, here's where we're at. This is a very unique kind of a loan. It's a VA loan. He knew that was a VA loan because that's why we called them. Well, it turns out these guys have been together and they were married at one point. They're not anymore. And here's where we're at.
So they got married and she changed her name.
Correct.
They got divorced. She never changed her name back. And then they got back together.
Yeah.
So they have the same last, they're still Jones the whole time. Been together for 35 years.
35 years.
I was married.
Yep. And as far as they're concerned, they were married because that's us, and they just didn't want to get the government back involved again. That's literally what they said.
Right.
Like, Garrett, we love each other. We just didn't want to get the government involved again.
This is the most impressive mic drop you could ever do when meeting a real estate agent. Like, how you have when realtors when you meet a realtor, they'll ask you like, hey, what's your heart like? Tell me about a problem you've recently solved. You're like, what's the hardest thing you've ever done? I had someone ask me that the other day, and I was like thinking through what I wanted to tell her. And you're just like, hey, one time I told my borrower, convinced my borrowers to get married to get their loan done. Like, oh wow, so you get stuff done.
We should.
I
really
awesome.
think you should put that on your business cards.
Yeah,
mortgage doctor, love
doctor.
I mean, that's great, and it's a. I'm sure that would get a lot of people to ask you, hey, what's this love doctor out? Give you a name, just tell them this story.
That's great.
I
have funny. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, we actually have a loan right now that I'm trying to fix, and it was the opposite problem.
Oh, no.
These clients are getting divorced. They're still married. I had it set up to where the husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, he was going to gift the spouse equity, so that way she could buy him out, right? Well, fast forward, a bunch of things came up in the process because she had a previous ex-husband. Long story short, they ended up getting divorced before we closed, and now the ex-husband isn't someone that can gift equity. So now we got to have her come up with money. You guys got divorced too soon.
Hey, man. I need you guys to go back real quick.
Yeah, get that. Yeah. Oh man,
that's one that we're literally working on right now, trying to close.
I'm not trying to make light of anyone, but that sounds like Ross and Rachel from Friends. Like what you just broke down is like, are we together? Are we not together? Man. I have a question for you because you said and this is a little bit pivot away from crazy stories, but I think especially if we do have loan officers listening to this, I think it'll be super helpful. For a lot of people think refinances are coming in 2026. They're already starting, and you're probably feeling a little bit of that. Are you planning? I guess my question one would be, are you guys planning to jump back into that? Or are you going to kind of stick solely on the purchase side? And if you are planning, question number 2 would be, what would you tell loan officers to prepare for the coming storm of refinances? How would you know, we're up against, if you're an individual LO, your clients are being, like solicited by everyone and their mother, right?
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of LOs that have all been on vacation for 5 years,
Sure.
doing their side jobs, right? Right. And they're about to come out of the woodworks. How do you tell the LOs on your team, like, here's how we're preparing for this?
Sure. So first things first, I've been doing this for almost 15 years. One thing I've learned specifically in the last 3 to 5 years is refinance is temporary, purchase is forever, right? So for you individual LOs, by all means, make sure you take advantage of the refinance market that we're going to have. But don't fall shy of the purchase world. And in fact, push harder, because what's going to happen is over the last 3 to 5 years, all these refi guys like me, we said, oh crap, what are we going to do? And we started going after all these agents. Well, guess what? People who aren't as forward thinking as I am now, I'm not going to leave the purchase world, right? I'm going to add refis, but I'm not going to take away purchase.
For sure.
Well, what's going to happen is everyone who has my mindset that I used to have, they're going to say, finally, I can stop doing these purchases, and they're going to start doing nothing but refis, right?
Yeah.
So those LOs who are, individual LOs, purchase focused, when rates go down and refis get big, it's actually better for you because you can get that market share back, because all those refi, those crack addicts, right? Refis are crack loans, right? They go back to that, and then they get off your real estate agent, so you can actually capture more market share. And I do have a pretty unique business model compared to most out there. I'm a very consumer direct, data driven business model where I do business nationwide. I buy, hundreds of thousands of leads every month, or at least hundreds of thousands of dollars worth, and we smile and dial.
Sure.
So will I start to allocate some money towards refinances? Absolutely.
Sure.
I am going to try to kind of keep it separate, though, because again, refis are kind of loan crack. If I give someone who's doing really well with purchases that they have to follow up on and talk to the agents on and yada yada, and I start giving them a refi, they can take a 10-minute phone call, sell a loan, and get paid in 20 days. Like that's going to break all those habits.
Yes. Yeah. It's so true. I love your mindset, because it's so, a lot of loan officers right now are thinking, and even me, like, just, 3 or 4, I don't have a big book of business, but 3 or 4 clients who are like, hey, can you get me some numbers for a refi? And it's great, because you're like, wow, I just woke up and got a return customer. But the problem is one, I don't know how to quote a refi. So I'm like, I'm on the phone with John for an hour and a half trying to figure it out. But then two, with looking, what you're talking about with looking at the agents as like more market share can now, because we've all had this mindset for like 3 years now. Like, bad LOs are out right now. Bad real estate agents are out. Attorneys that aren't doing a great job or super high priced, they're out. The market is dwindling, which means the best ones keep rising. And we're kind of at a point where there are still some bad apples, but everyone I'm going up against is like, oh, that person's done it. They've been in it for 10 years, been in it for 15 years. I think what you're saying is we're going to even see more if we double down on our purchase. If you're an LO listening to this and we're doubling down on our agents, that gives us even more market share as some of the people who are good jump to more of the refi game. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
And here's what I do if I'm you. So obviously you're going to reach out to your past clients. That's a no-brainer, right?
Right. Right.
But your real estate agent partners that you've acquired, and then the ones you continue to acquire, yes, you're going to help them close more business, but you're also going to ask them, hey, can I get a list of all the people you've closed the last 3 years? And they'll happily give it to you. Maybe we do a co-branded postcard, or maybe I just call just on your behalf.
Sure.
All those are refis for you too.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So all your realtor partners that you get, and then the new ones you acquire from this refi boom, you use their database to help keep them top of mind, right? We're here to serve our agents,
Right.
but to help, help them. So like my pitch is, hey, Mr. Agent, as I'm sure you know, rates have come down. Great time to refinance. What better way for you to let your clients know that you're thinking of them than to have your lending partner call them and save them money?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so now I'm calling, even though they've never worked with me in the past, I'm calling, hey, Johnny Agent asked me to give you a call, said that he was thinking about you. I've been working with him a lot. Interest rates are great. I'm his best lender. He asked me to give you a call to save you some money. That person's doing business with me, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So the agent's happy because I'm keeping them top of mind. The client's happy. And of course, I'm happy because I'm getting new business.
Yeah, you're also
That's
giving that third party referral. A third party compliment is like the most valuable compliment. So you're hitting that client with, my guy over here was thinking about you and said, just talk to them and just check up on their interest rate. And now you look great. And the realtor looks like, man, you're thinking about my interest rate and you're not even a lender. You're a real estate agent. And it just, the positivity raises everyone. Right. That's awesome. That's cool.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So Garrett, I want to give you an opportunity. I mean, I think you've spoken enough, you've shared enough of yourself on this episode so far that there's probably a lot of people that are like, wow, I want to work with Garrett Silva. I want to work with someone on his team. But we wanted to give you the opportunity to just like go a little harder, right? Like promote yourself. Tell us a little bit about, if someone needs a loan in the Cleveland area or somewhere else, like why should they reach out to Garrett Silva and your people at the Crown Group?
That's great. And I appreciate that opportunity. So, I mean, first things first, I know it's really easy for everyone to say, but like, we give you white glove service. I know I said earlier that, I have myself, my business partner, Frank, Nick, and Alan. What's great about that is we have literally like 100 years of combined mortgage background experience. So like if there's a problem or a scenario, like one of us has probably seen it. What's even better than that is one of us is always available, right? So Alan, one of our business partners, he's actually in Tokyo right now in Japan.
Nice.
Guess what? All of his business is perfectly taken care of. Right. They've got all of our contact information. Yep. We're dealing with them. We have here at Cross Country access to basically every loan program out there, down payment assistance stuff, state bond stuff, second mortgages, basically anything other than like a fix and flip loan we can handle.
Sure.
So I mean, for any kind of needs, and specifically, one thing I like to do, especially starting out with realtors or clients, everyone says, "Oh, I'd like to do all your business, yada yada." I like to go for the donut hole, not the whole donut, right? Like what holes do you need plugged? What I've been seeing a lot recently is Cross Country. We're the number one lender in the country in general. But we're also by far the number one lender in the non-QM space. So we're talking bank statement loans, DSCR loans, 1099 loans. We have like the most relaxed guidelines for those programs. Nice. And in addition to that, we can actually go and ask for exceptions because they're our own in-house loans. They're not going to Fannie or Freddie or FHA. Right. We can really do like common sense underwriting. So, I had one just the other day where the credit score was a 680 requirement. I had like a 660 and, but I was 5% better on my LTV. They had a 70%. I was at 65. Nice. So I basically said, hey, I got this compensating factor. Is that okay? And they said, yes. Right.
Sure.
So we do a lot of those, and same thing with we do a lot of like tougher loans, sub 580 credit scores, down payment assistance at like we go on a $600 down payment assistance programs. So if there's a loan that makes sense, we can do it. If a car needs four wheels and so does a loan because it's like, hey, your credit, your income, your assets, and the property, well, we can usually get a car across the finish line with two tires, kind of thing, if we really need to, right?
I like that.
So, I mean, we've got a great team. We've got great levels of support. And that's why I think we attract a lot of good talent and specifically young talent. Like Jonathan mentioned, I've been training LOs for over 10 years, and I really pride myself on I can take the best kid at McDonald's and make him a great loan officer inside of 6 months. I was the best kid at McDonald's, right?
Hey,
I worked at McDonald's for 3 years when I was a kid.
Right.
That's amazing.
So, it's all about finding the right people with the right mindset. I really don't care where you've been. I care a lot about where you want to go, though.
Sure. That's awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Good stuff. Go ahead, John.
You got it.
I was gonna say, are you guys primarily looking for more loan officers? Or are you primarily looking for agents? For you, like, what are you doing these days?
I don't personally originate too much anymore. I mean, and I still do. I still close 3 to 5 loans a month personally, just referrals, things like that. And both, obviously we're looking for more agents. But as we grow my agent team and my agent referral network, I need more LOs to service them, right? As we get more people with referrals and we buy more leads and all that, we need more LOs to service those clients.
Right.
And on top of that, then we need more processors to process those loans, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. Cool.
Yep. We actually every Wednesday at 11 Eastern, I do a quick little call, a little Zoom call, and we basically kind of highlight all the bullet points of like what we do for agents. We call it Agent Advantage.
Nice.
And we talk about just how we, co-market with them, how we can, get them different marketing materials, whether it's social media strategies or print marketing. We talk a little bit about like our process and different like things like, hey, here's why our pre-approvals are solid. Here's why our contract to close process is solid. Again, a lot of different marketing strategies. Hey, here's probably some objections that you guys are hearing and out there. Well, I don't want to sell because the market's lower, or hey, I don't want to buy because I want rates to come down. And we talk just like a little bit about coaching them how to overcome those objections.
Right.
So we do a lot of different things for our agents. And if you think about real estate, just like loan officers, you have a brand new agent who's like, I just need to get my brand going, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I've got an intermediate agent to where, hey, I've got things going, but I need more business, right? And then you've got hey, I've got a team and I need to help grow and develop my team. So depending on where someone's at in their career, we kind of have specific value adds for each and every one. We actually had a group down in Fayetteville, North Carolina that we'd go see. And a lot of what they asked me to do was talk about sales. So I talk about sales from that real estate perspective. Hey, how do you get your sphere of influence going, with social media and just, networking, things like that. How do you work a lead, calling past FSBOs and calling past expired listings, like what's the best approaches? Hey, how do you overcome objections? Well, you ARC them, acknowledge, respond, close, acknowledge and agree, respond, close, and just kind of teaching them the basics. So at the end of the day, whether you're selling real estate or mortgages or cars or shoes, like it's psychology, and understanding the psychology of your borrower will help you help them, right?
Yeah.
And we got to remember, sales is not about the salesperson; it's about the client. Right?
Yes.
Like Zig Ziglar said, I can have anything in life I want as long as I help enough other people get what they want first.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Garrett, how can people get a hold of you if they want to learn more about you, learn more about your team, pick your brain about mortgages, you need to find a wife, any of that stuff.
Need to find a wife, I can help you find that. Best way to give me a call, area code 989-287-0479. Call me, text me, reach out to me on social media. I'm pretty active on Facebook, Instagram, things like that. Whatever you do, don't email me. I have probably 100,000 unread emails. I do not read emails.
Nice.
Those are just a good way for other people to organize my day.
Yeah. Amen. Yeah. That makes sense.
And then also you could probably catch Garrett occasionally at a Cavs game, at a Browns game, anything Cleveland related. Cross country, as you know, is a big sponsor of the Browns. Yeah. So that's pretty good. I don't know if they're going to be good this year or not. We'll see, but we'll see. Yeah. So Garrett, thank you so much for joining us on Closing Time with the Lone Rangers today, where the only thing crazier than the people are the stories. Rysta, I believe, is the song ready to go?
No, it's not.
You texted me. You said the song was ready to go.
We need Can Garrett sing it?
Do you remember Closing Time by Semisonics? Yeah. So we actually rewrote it, and it's about loans. I know who I want to fund this loan, and the people have been begging us that they really want us to sing this song, but Andrew's nervous because see, Andrew is the songbird of our generation. He has a beautiful voice.
Okay,
but he doesn't want to sing on the broadcast here. Exactly. So I guess we'll have to sing that again next week.
I have had
shove it off to next week.
I legitimately, like you saying the fans want it. I've had like 3 people who are like, "Are you guys actually going to do that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, of course."
My son just started the cello this last week, so maybe once he learns how to play that on his cello, we can bring him on the show. And
Yeah.
I know who I want to fund this loan. Well, thank you, Garrett. Thank you so much, Andrew. That's a great podcast. And
Appreciate it.
Talk to you guys
closing
soon.
time with the loan.